The purpose of this visual portfolio is to evaluate my role from an individual perspective for my unit craft in the scene. The portfolio also represents my self-evaluation of how I performed throughout the entire project. My role was producer for our short film sequence Margot. I worked on a team with 7 other people: Jean Kenyon, Tom Luthwaite, Tom Corns, Chris Gray, Francesco Baghetti, Julian Greenbank, Chloe Wilkins, Daniel Long, Peter Wiltshire, and Sam Nurbach. This was our team for the project itself right through to the end of filming. At the start of the unit, we were formed into 2 different groups and put into different roles. I originally wanted to work on sound recording, however my decision changed and I decided to become the producer of the project because I felt that I wanted to see where my strengths and weaknesses lie on taking on a massive role. My group was then given a script which we then had to readapt to it. During our first meeting, our director got an inspiration from the script of creating a 1930s crime noir drama which is set in a London art gallery. For my role, I read about what the role of a producer was. During the research, I found out from other people's experiences within the role that they are more in charge during the pre-production stages, as they are responsible for making sure that the whole film goes ahead, and also to complete any paperwork. This is to be completed. This can vary from risk assessments, call sheets, and many more. On the shoot day, the producer overviews things from a crew performance perspective, such as punctuality and health and safety. The first message I addressed at our first meeting was to speak with the group on what paperwork was needed to be done before the shoot and making sure the script was adapted. Within 2 days, the script was developed and I approved of the script. I had a meeting with the director and the director of photography to discuss the pre-production stages. I printed out a handful of pre-production paperwork. This included a contact sheet for all the crew members, location scout sheet, pre-production forms, and many more. When I had my first group meeting, myself and the rest of the group made sure that I wrote down notes of what the producer's main role was. I read books and read online about what I can do to achieve my role to a good standard. I also found out a lot of pre-production templates to help me with my role. This included location scouting sheet, risk assessments, and crew contact list. Our shoot day commenced on Tuesday the 6th of December 2016. I had 2 roles of producer and clapperboard assistant. My role on the day was to make sure that everything was ready and the whole crew was on top of schedule before we began shooting. I set a call time for 9 AM. However, the shoot was delayed for 10 AM. This was due to the traffic around the area. I headed to the train station to collect the actors to bring them to the university. When I returned, all of the technical crew were all set up and ready to shoot with all the equipment. This gave me time to introduce the set, where they would be filming, and then taking the actors to the holding room where they were able to have some food and drink before the shoots, and for Gemma to prepare her makeup whilst the director went through the script with Scott. I was upstairs communicating with the assistant director to see how things were going on downstairs. I was using a radio for communication with the director in Studio B. I had to balance 2 different roles on top of producing, working on the clapperboard. This was good for me because I had the chance to delegate with the actors whilst working on set. I showed communication between the director and the DOP. They informed me that they are going to be shooting day scenes first, then ending with the evening scenes. Whilst being informed this, I made sure that the gaffer and grip were speeding up the process, making sure we were on top of schedule, whilst making sure the actors were comfortable and answering any questions about the script itself. During the project, I felt the main advantages were that we found the actors weeks before planning and the script was given the all clear. Thankfully, despite finding the actors early, I had a chance to focus on other aspects of pre-production. Despite the setbacks, we managed to respond to them really well and acting quickly to improve on those setbacks that occurred during the project. Despite some turbulent situations during the pre-production process, I felt the positive outcome was that the whole shoot went ahead and was completed on time. The majority of the negatives occurred during the pre-production process. For example, when it came to the rehearsal day where there was no equipment that we required for the actual day. Myself and the co-producer solved the problem by moving the rehearsal a day later, booking all of the equipment that we needed. Secondly, the flats were not able to be used as they were all unavailable, so the solution I had was using my gaffer tape to create a square of the set. This was a solution of the outline of our set. Another setback that occurred for us was the lead actor for Leonard unfortunately dropped out the day before the shoot. I was made aware of the news when I was in the studio making sure that everything was on top of schedule. The problem was resolved as the co-producer and director were looking at available actors. Luckily, we managed to find an actor in the last minute. On a set day, we had a problem that occurred where one of the vases for our set smashed onto the floor. Not only was it bad for the set, but the two of the shots we had filmed before the lunch break had the smashed vase in shot, which gave us a huge setback, and we could only resolve this by filming all of the shots that included the vase all over again. On the other hand, despite the problems, we managed to film everything before our 8 p.m. shooting deadline. I felt that the group dynamics were performed very well during group meetings, and also the build and shoot day, between different roles. Unfortunately, certain people were not punctual during the pre-production process. Certain roles within our group, such as the camera department, had a very strong connection with one another as they collaborated a huge amount of times on set. The professionalism from certain members, especially from the lighting and camera department, were fantastic, as there was a lot of passion coming from the department. I felt that my relationship with members of the crew was strong. I gained a good relationship with the crew members. I collaborated with the director during meetings and the director of photography, keeping them up to date with any problems that occurred. Due to some of the problems I faced in early stages, they often gave me some very good professional advice on how I can improve certain things that could help me achieve my goals on the shoot day. I worked alongside the DIT as well as being on the clapperboard. I informed the DIT on what scene we have just shot, how many takes, and which scene we are moving to next. The actors for our shoot were very friendly. I made sure that the actors felt comfortable throughout the majority of the day. I felt very nervous about meeting the actors due to feeling very worried that I would run out of questions to ask and things to say. I had two of the crew members help me out whilst I took the actors on their lunch break, and due to this, I felt very confident and not so shy when they were around. This made me gain more confidence throughout the day, as I was improving as time went on. My strength throughout the project was my communication with certain members of the cast and crew, whether it was during pre-production or on the shoot day. If I had a problem with anything, I would always make sure that I addressed the problem to the AD or to another member of the crew. I found that my strengths lied asking everyone how the crew were doing, making sure everything was going to plan. My weaknesses throughout the project was that I felt that I didn't deal with a problem as quickly as I should. For example, during the pre-production, I sometimes didn't think about how the problem could be solved. I often felt anxious and scared that the project wasn't going to be complete. I felt that I wasn't very assertive towards members of the crew who didn't pull their weight, and I felt very weak, that I found myself very tongue-tied when it came to making decisions, as well as being answered questions on the spot. If I was to do the producer's role again, there would be a number of changes I would make. I felt that the problem I had was making sure that I tried to juggle everything at once. As I proved in this unit, that was something I couldn't do. I would ask people to help out with certain bits of paperwork, as I can focus on what I need to do. Secondly, despite filming the project on time, I felt that I could have acted quickly in regards to planning. I felt that the planning got better as weeks progressed, but I would deal with the planning at an earlier stage. Delegating with other members of the group was something I struggled with as well, trying to get them to help me with other bits of work. And doing it all by myself, it didn't work out as planned as I wanted to. However, as weeks got on, I felt that I improved my role whilst working on set, collaborating with others. I think the problem I had was on the pre-production.